Okay, hello. It is Monday, September 16th. Y'all, we are in it. Oh my goodness, it's going to be autumn this week. How about that officially? Uh, Very excited to catch up with all of you. Right now, those of you tuning in can only see me and Sam. We've got several other people who are cameras off today, including okay, popping it up. I had a good little mini catch up with Kelly before everyone else showed up, so I'm excited to pick up where we left off there. So actually, since Kelly was here first, why don't we start with Kelly? Kelly, what's going on in your world? Just give us a quick update, and maybe you want to give us like the distilled update based on where we left off from last week, real quick, and then we'll go to Jen.
Okay. So we're still working on our issues with our partnership, our ownership of the space. We're still working through that. So there's no real news to report there. But the positive thing from last week was we had another work sprint on Friday. And these events, we have 2 more scheduled, so basically 1 a month now, and they are being very highly received by our members. And 2 new people came, both of whom had connections to people who've been in the space already, and it just seems to be a good way to get people in. And we had 2 new members join last week, one of whom joined us for the work sprint for the first time and really loved it. So we already have some people signed up for the next session next month. So those seem to be a big favorable thing for our space. People really like them.
Yay! I'm so happy to hear it. That's all I want to hear is exactly those kinds of things. How are these? So these people are finding you through other members for the most part?
Yeah, so the 2 new people who joined us, I asked how they found us, and both, we have a woman who owns a brick and mortar store here locally who has kind of been rocking it in the social media department, and she started doing that as a side hustle in addition to her brick and mortar store. And she sometimes works from home and asked if she could just come and work in our space instead of from home in exchange for doing some of our Facebook posts on occasion. And I said, yeah, great. And then she'll occasionally give a shout out to her networks about us. So one person, she's very well connected in the community, and one person saw that and learned about our space that way. And then looked and saw that we had this coming up and thought it was interesting and joined. And then the second person, again, was friends with somebody who came to the last one, who had been promoting it on her Facebook channels, just saying, oh, I really, this was a great thing. And then she would respond also. She understands the benefit of social networking as well. And she, whenever I posted an ad about it or something, she would often respond like, oh, this was great. I'm looking forward to the next one. And this person saw that and decided to come.
Great.
So all people who were already kind of connected, and but yeah, it was really good.
Good. All right, we'll keep it going then. It's the spirit. All right, thanks, Kelly. Jen, how are things with you? What's your official group update now that we've got everyone here?
Let's see. We had another member join last week. Somebody who's only going to be in town for a few more months before they move, and she was super anxious about having enough quiet space to do phone calls. She posted on a Facebook group that we're both in, and a bunch of people tagged me and said, oh, maybe Jen Luby can help you. And so we came in, we talked it through, and we did some creative solutions. So we're going to work to keep her happy, and she signed up at our highest level. So that was pretty great. It's interesting, Kelly, that you brought up social media, because this is actually something good for me to talk about. One of our members is a social media person, and we need help because we just can't, I don't have the bandwidth to be posting on social all the time and coming up with content. And she came up with a proposal that is almost what she's paying us for monthly. She has a dedicated desk. It's a little higher, but and I'm like, do I want to do a trade? But right now it's like, we're at that point where the income is important. And I don't know, we're just at this point right now where I am unsure of what to spend money on versus how much to save. Like, I would really love to get a great sign for our building, but they are really effing expensive. So, and I can kind of do the social media myself, but it would be nice to have some help. I don't know. Just lots of decisions like that are
And
happening.
let's talk through it. This sounds like a great topic to jam on.
Okay.
Awesome. I appreciate you sharing it. I think that's going to be a good one for us to play with. A little bit kind of fresh territory for us, which is good. Okay, great. Thank you, Jen. I'm excited for that. Mike, I see we've got you on camera, which is so exciting. Welcome to the program. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are and where you are and what you're working on? Give us the intro.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Hey, it's a pleasure to meet everybody. It's exciting. So thank you for sending this out. I am doing two things at once, so I do apologize. I have my IT company.
We all know exactly what that feels like.
I said, yeah, let's do it. And it's taking longer than it should. But my name is Mike Regeniter, and I'm looking at starting. I'm in the very beginning stages of research, working with a partner of mine, and we're looking at how to reinvent some retail ideas that kind of merge into this co-working space concept. And we're researching it here. I live in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and I worked for membership organizations my entire working career. So I see this as a community builder, and really serve a lot of missions, I think, that really support good causes and help try to build up that community here in Colorado Springs and see where it goes. But we're in the very beginning of the research phase.
Very cool. And can you just tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, so currently I am full-time employed. I work at a nonprofit. It's called Mercedes-Benz Club of America. And we are a membership organization that has about 22,000 members across the United States and the country, well, internationally as well. And I've been in the nonprofit executive world. I'm the executive director, and I've been doing it here. I also was the COO for a nonprofit for 15 years in the Christian retail marketplace. And so really serving more of the trade associations and membership organizations, my entire, anywhere from media, used to do website development, and then worked my way up to the C-suite offices. And, it's been great. And so really leading teams and leading boards and volunteers and all that good stuff.
Yeah, great. Oh, I'm excited to learn a lot more about that. I feel like we'd all have a lot to learn from your experience with that.
Community is a big deal, and I know this is a co-working space and a business in a way, but I think there's a lot of things when people want to be a part of the community. I do know that. It's just how do you foster that?
Yes, we can talk extensively about that, and I'm excited for us to dive in one-on-one when we have our call together later. But welcome to this group, and consider this a resource. So we're here to help you as you go. So we'll start by talking about some of the other topics, but if you want to dive in with something, we'd love to support you however we can. All right, so we've got a few other people who are not on video, but who are in the room. We've got Agustina. Agustina, do you want to say a hello and an intro and let us know what's going on your side?
Yeah, hello. I am joining you guys in replacing Mariangi from Coco House here in Puerto Rico. So just a lot of projects going on over here from the last month I joined you guys. And yeah, a lot going on, lots of projects, new people joining our team, also working a lot in the social media aspect because we do not have really, we're not doing a big effort in that sense. So we are hiring a new person to help us with that too. So that's something I'm interested in hearing from you guys today. And yeah, that's all. A lot of work like everybody else.
Okay, fair enough. We're definitely gonna have to talk social media delegation today. But thank you for that, Agustina. We'll get to that topic for sure. Cool. All right. I know Jennifer is on the line as well at Workspace Suites, and so if you want to say a quick hello and an intro, how's it going over there, Jennifer?
Hi. So sorry. Everything's going decently. Actually, I'm lying. It's starting to take the fall where our fall or autumn, whatever you want to call it, time of the year is starting to take a decrease, and we're not seeing as much action as we were during the summer, which kind of sucks, but we're hoping to get back up. We do have people coming in and seeing the space, and they're very much interested in it. We just need to tie them down, which I am constantly in contact with them, which I've learned over these conferences that is a must to do. So thank y'all for helping me on that. Other than that, we're good. We've just been really busy with the start of school year because Herman and I are both parents, and we have 7 kids in total. Like, he's got 3, I've got 4, so he's very accommodating to my schedule, and I'm very open to being here and helping him out. So yeah, that's all that I have.
Gotcha. And you said that the last couple of calls have been useful to you. Have you been trying to incorporate some kind of an invitation to give people to increase the chances that they're going to want to convert as members?
No, we haven't had any of that yet. I've talked to Herman about it and trying to do some kind of incentive, and we've talked to our neighbor who is a laundry service, dry cleaners, and with word from them, they do get to come into the office and use our facility. I think it's once a month or once a week. It's something that him and Herman have put together, and I just go with whatever the email told me to go with. But other than that, like, we've only had one person sign up for a dedicated desk, but he is leaving us in 2 months. So he's not really staying here for a long-term kind of contract, which we were hoping for.
Yeah, because what I'm thinking is that, based on what we've been talking about in previous calls, if we can get some kind of something on the calendar that you can invite people to, then that's something that gets them in the door, aside from just kind of hounding them to say, like, hey, give me money.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that too.
Yeah. All right. So maybe that could be homework for you to kind of get with your team and find a way to make that happen.
Yeah, of course we need to. That is on my to-do list. It's just been crazy, but
yeah, well,
we'll figure it out.
The fact that you're managing 7 kids and a business together that's a lot. So it's admirable that you're able to do it at all, and I'm very appreciative of that. Cool. All right. Thanks, and keep us posted on what comes up for you as you're figuring that out.
Thank you. We will.
Yeah. All right. So I want to welcome a newcomer as well today, Lucas Guillermo. Welcome, Lucas. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you are, what you're up to, what brought you to the group. Tell us your story.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thanks for having me. My name is Lucas Guillermo. I live in Tulsa right now, Tulsa, Oklahoma. I own an IT company. We do mobile web development, system, software development. And I'm in the early stages of co-working. My company used to be a co-working space here in Tulsa, 36 North Degree, amazing co-working space. We worked there for a year and a half, maybe. And since that time, that was like almost 4 years ago, I want to open a co-working space in South Tulsa. There's no co-working space area here. So I moved to a new office right now, and my thoughts, like, why not make this office also a co-working space? It's big, have plenty of space. So I'm in early phases, doing construction, some remodeling stuff here, but I'm excited. I'm excited to be part of this group and to learn more from you guys.
Very cool. All right. So you've got your existing business.
Yes.
And so this is kind of this would be an augmentation of that business.
Yes. I want to bring more IT to this area of Tulsa and more young entrepreneurs. There's nothing like that here. I have a meeting with the Chamber of Commerce here. They're very excited because they want something like the city of Bixby. That's where it is, South Tulsa. So they want to use as well. So the space. So I'm very excited, but I know it's a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to have space already for your business, then it could be that it's a good time. So I like it.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to learn more from you guys and share experience and go from there.
Great. Is there any particular question that you're looking to have answered now, or anything that, like, what's like the next thing on your list that you're focused on right now?
I'm focused more now in checking the city, how many people can have the space with the fire department, things like that, so I can start planning the floor plan to how many people I can fit in the space, how many desks, how many offices. So that's my next focus right now, because so I can estimate the profit and things like that and narrow down my group of people. I want to focus more on IT people, design, social media marketing, and people in the area. So I think that will be my next focus. But I might be ahead of the game. I'm not sure if it's too fast to go there right now, but that's what I'm thinking.
So you have the space that you're going to be using?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess, part of what you're looking at now is just what can I do with the space that I have, right?
Yeah.
And so that makes sense to me in terms of stuff that you'd be spending your time on. I think you'll find, especially if you work through some of the other phone calls that we've had, that, obviously building community and finding the prospective customers within your reach that you can be engaging with sooner is always a good thing to be doing,
Yeah.
So certainly we could talk more about that, but I think you're already on the right track. You get the idea where we're going.
Perfect. Thank you.
Cool. All right.
Lucas, I'm sorry, Lucas, where in Oklahoma are you from?
I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but kind of Bixby, Tulsa.
I've been there many, many, many times.
Oh, really?
My dad, well, he was born in Chicago, but he was raised in Tulsa, so I've got family, and that's cool. I'm glad you're doing that there. Yeah. That's awesome. Maybe I'll come visit you next time I'm in town for family.
Sure, it'll be a pleasure.
Yeah.
Very cool. So I think everyone had a chance to introduce themselves. The one topic that came up that seems to be of interest to multiple people on the call is around how to manage your resources when you have limited resources for marketing and for social media management, things like that. So I think that we can maybe just dive into that a little bit more, starting with Jen, who gave us kind of I think a really good starting point. And then for everyone else on the call, outside of this topic, we are going to have room for at least one more conversation. So if something comes up for you that you want to dive deeper on, or just something totally new that inspires you, that you think would be super helpful for us to talk about this week, please speak up, or drop a message in the chat to let me know, and then I'll keep it in mind. But without further ado, Jen, do you want to tell us, coming back to what you had mentioned earlier in your introduction, give us a lay of the land in terms of what you think you could be allocating your resources toward, and just kind of a sense of, like what you're trying to decide between.
I am trying to decide between, do I want this company owned by one of my members to create content for social, mostly Facebook, Instagram, a little bit of LinkedIn as well. Because right now it's this weight on me. I mean, it takes me 30 minutes to do a really good Instagram post. It takes me, another 30 to 45 minutes to script some Instagram stories that are, compelling and on brand and blah, blah, blah. And also to help out with the newsletter. Jessica and I just, our time is limited. We don't really have the bandwidth. And so I'm wrestling with a couple of things. Like, number one, is what we're doing right now adequate? How long can we continue with the current situation? Number two, my experience with other projects that I've done, there's always an onboarding period with agencies. And our member, admitted as such. She's like, the first month, there's going to be a lot of tweaking. There's going to be a lot of, hey, this isn't quite right. We'll go back and forth. I don't know. I've wasted a lot of money with other businesses on getting marketing help, and is it worth it? And then number three, if I propose a trade that's from this member, And if she agrees to it, that's income that's not coming in.
Right. Okay. And so in terms of the social media side and what you've been doing, like, it seems like based on what I know of your brand, it makes sense for you to have a social media presence. And to some degree, it's a matter of, well, how much of a presence do you want to have and how does that fit into your overall marketing strategy, right? So can you tell us a little bit more about, I guess, in the bigger picture, what the marketing plan is and like where social media fits into it currently? Like, what else do you have going on as far as getting members?
I would say a lot of it is, how do we get members? Newsletter, personal contact, but then yeah, social media is huge. You know, we don't do any traditional advertising. I'd love to get help with public relations, because that, you know, getting into the press is really challenging. I've learned that a lot of the press, at least around here, is pay to play. So it's like, you know, once you buy an ad from this media group, they are a whole lot more likely to run an article about you. So could definitely use some help with that as well. That's not something that this members group does, though.
Right.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I'm also wondering, like, you know, because social media can just consume as much of our time and energy as we let it, you know? And so what I'm wondering is, you know, is there a way that we can understand how it fits into the overall scheme of your business so that, you know, we can get a sense of how much effort do we really need to be putting into it? You know, does everything depend on you having a really strong social media game, or is it more of a, I want to say, kind of supplemental thing to everything else that you're doing? Does that make sense?
I guess I don't know. I just always assumed that it's really important to have strong social media game, because, yeah, I guess I respond to social media. You know, whenever I hear about a new business, first thing I do is check out their Instagram or their Facebook page. And if they don't have something on there, if it's really outdated, then I'm like, oh, I don't know. There's less of a connection there for me.
Right. Okay. So this is good. I think this is useful in the sense that we're looking at, you know, okay, it's good to have a presence, right? And having a presence is important unto itself. But are we looking to proactively be recruiting and engaging members through social media, or is it more about having it be that kind of legitimacy check, you know? And I think if you frame it in terms of that, then the value of it is very different, right? So, you know, for example, if we're framing it just in terms of that, then we say, okay, how can you approach social media where it's not so much work for you because you're really just trying to keep the light on, right? And so could you know, batch up a lot of the work? Could you make it more streamlined so that it's less, you know, day-to-day labor and more, you know, something that's spread out over the course of time? You know, like I could imagine that you could sit down and schedule out a bunch of posts for, you know, over the course of the month, and then have that be on an editorial calendar, and then you don't spend as much time on it, you know, in a given day or week. But I know we also want to kind of like be able to update people on things that happen this week and that kind of thing. So, yeah, I'm not sure where you're at as far as, have you tried doing social media, like calendaring and scheduling and kind of?
Yeah, we have a calendar, and we have Hootsuite. You know, I've heard that these tools are better if you use them. It's all kind of sitting out there, and it's all very theoretical. And it's like, oh, right, I was supposed to create a bunch of that content, and then I didn't, you know, because my to-do list is a mile long, and you know, but I don't know. I don't know if that is the right approach for us to just keep the light on from a social media standpoint. I'm not sure. Maybe it is. Maybe we should be a whole lot more active on it.
Yeah, well, I guess what I'm thinking is in terms of understanding how you allocate your time and energy, that like let's say that you do want to get more active, right? Or that you want to be comparably effective. I'm wondering if there's a way that you can create a construct for you to manage yourself around it so that you can do it and you can get a lot done without it feeling like it's overwhelming. You know, like, do you have any kind of routine or rhythm that we can build on as far as your workflow so that, you know, like I think social media can be consuming if it's not in like really strong, consistent, structured containers, you know? So do you think that maybe it would be helpful if, for example, you tried to get on some kind of a schedule with it for you, you know, in terms of your day to day? Maybe.
Yeah, probably. And I think that part of the problem with that stems from the fact that since we opened in March, I haven't found a rhythm yet. You know, I'm still kind of like in less so in whack-a-mole phase, you know, than when we first opened. But I'm still very reactive and responding to things as they pop up, and like, you know, my to-do list is a hot mess. And
I mean, Jen, what I'm even thinking is that for this person that you're looking to potentially do a work trade with, you know, like let's say you started working with them, you'd have to get into some rhythm of sitting down with them and giving them material to work with, right? In terms of what they're going to be talking about, because obviously they could just kind of go and generate content willy-nilly, but that wouldn't necessarily, you know, be useful to you either. So they have to make informed content that's going to come from you. And if they were to do that, then there would be like probably some kind of rhythm to you updating them on the things that they would have to post about. And just creating that rhythm would be the equivalent of you doing it for yourself too, right? So if you were to say like, okay, I have a weekly check-in with this team to tell them what's going on so that they know what to make posts about, then now you've got a weekly check-in with yourself that you could know what to make posts about, you know? But what I'm thinking is, I'm wondering if these folks could be a starting point for you. You could say, okay, what if we just try to do the initial consultation? You know, just get the initial rhythm going, do it for a month or something like that, just to get their kind of expertise to help you, you know, get on the right track without it being a forever ongoing engagement. It could be a nice way to kind of see how it's like to work together with them too. Maybe.
I like that idea. Yeah. I have to tell you, like, I'm having an actual reaction to this conversation. Like, I just took off my sweater because I'm getting really warm.
Whoa.
With just the idea of like doing all this. Like, I just want it off my plate.
Okay. Well, I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because it sounds like that's really valuable for you to notice.
Like, you're saying this and like I'm getting this like feeling in my stomach, and then I was getting really warm.
I will say, I feel like sometimes when I give people advice, the best result can be that the person viscerally feels a sense of wrongness around what I'm suggesting, such that it becomes very apparent that my advice is exactly what they don't want. Which I feel like is, you know, right up there in terms of being helpful, right? Because if everything I'm telling you, you're getting an embodied hell no, then maybe that tells you that it is worth making the investment to get it off your plate, right?
Yeah, I think it is.
I think even then, if you frame it in terms of it being a short-term like taste test, as opposed to, you know, a long-term, you're losing this business, I think that would make a big help, you know? And it might even make sense, Jen, to keep the person on as a paying customer, but then also pay them as a customer, you know? And it is kind of weird to be like, you know, I'm going to give you $100, you're going to give me $100 or whatever. But I think, you know, for example, if you decide to not continue engaging with them in social media, they're still your customer, you know, and you don't have to like onboard them again as a paying customer, you know? So it might make sense for you to keep the business relationship, as two separate relationships.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does anybody have any thoughts on that? Like, has anybody done something like this, like a similar arrangement? And has anything that any advice from past experience that they could share?
Yeah.
This is Mike Regenauer with Mercedes-Benz Club of America, and I have a lot of experience with social media. We have a few platforms, and to what Tony was saying, you got to really have a plan of what you really want to accomplish with social media. Is it just to show really, what does your community look like in action, or is it really to onboard and acquisition of new members to be a part of your co-working space? What we do here at the club is that right now we're just engaging with an audience. We are working on new strategies that's going to be more direct towards acquisition of members. And to me, I understand your challenges of time because I'm the executive director and I have volunteers, of course, that helps, but still I have to spend the time to align and get everybody in alignment. And I think social media is a powerful tool if used right. To your point, if somebody goes there and is inactive or showing dated material, it's not very helpful. But I believe that you got to develop your story. What is it? What's your customer's experience of engaging? How do they find you? What's that relationship like? And how do you move that forward? Social media could be an awesome platform to share that. We don't partner. We've had people that want to partner with us in trades, and we won't do it. It just gets messy. You have to make sure that whoever you're working with is accountable to keep up with your measurements. And if you do it right, you really can track your ROI, your return on investment, on both your time and not only that, the actual ad spend. I mean, you can track who purchased what off that specific ad. And you can track those things. And I think it's important because the amount of time that you're having anxiety over trying to achieve this on social media is well not worth that. But the investment, finding the right people to do that is. And you can track it. And then all you have to do is follow the analytics, and be a part of that, I think, brainstorming session of figuring out how do you want to use your social media platform.
Yeah,
Two
I love that.
what it's worth.
So I have a few thoughts too to chime in. So I, like Jen, it sounds like, use social media a lot to find out about things going on in my community, to kind of do the check on who's going there and do I want to participate. So for me, it was important for us to at least have some regular social media presence, and in part modeled after this woman who ended up helping us, because she runs a store that's a athletic clothing for women and shoes and clothing for women. And I don't work out much at all. And yet her presence on Facebook and the way she presented herself as a member of the community really drew me in, and she started doing some things with kids' shoes. So I made an effort intentionally to go shop there. And I joke with her now that we're friends and say, you've got somebody who doesn't even work out, even though I want to shop in your store. And so you clearly are doing something right, at least for some segment of the population. And for me, it was, we're very bootstrapped here and tiny. So we had a conflict between the four owners about how we were going to do media. And we have somebody who wanted to do more of the buying ads on Google and Facebook approach. And to me, at least, I felt like that wasn't worth the money because we're small enough. And to me, again, like, the people who are going to come work here are going to want to have some connection to each other and the community. And that to me felt more important than just kind of a random ad on Facebook or on Google. And so I really advocated for this more like free approach by just kind of being present in Facebook groups and posting when we can on a more advertising basis, and getting this woman to help us was a huge relief for me, because like you, it sounds like it takes me forever to put together anything clever or funny or catchy, whereas she just seems to be able to do it in like 5 minutes. But when we talked about it initially, we did what Tony kind of recommended, which is just like, hey, we're just going to try this for a month. Let's see what happens. And we'll we'll talk again at the end of the month. And if it's still working, we'll do it another month. And if it's still working, we'll do it another month. And, she was fine with that approach and we were happy with that approach. So we kind of just have this check-in like, hey, we want to keep doing this? Yeah. And like, she took a little bit of time off. She was traveling and had a lot on her plate. And we're like, great, that's fine. And just having her, because of her connections in the community, having her come in our space and say she comes in our space. I mean, I guess she's an influencer in kind of the traditional sense of the word, but that's clearly helping us. So at least for me, it was a huge relief. She does the schedule that Tony was talking about. She sat down with us, says, okay, I'm going to do 3 posts a week. Monday's going to be more educational. Thursday's going to be like something that you want to promote. Friday's going to be like a fun kind of goofy thing. And she'll program them all like the week before. We review them. Like she'll just put it in the draft, and then we approve them, and then she just sets them to publish each of those days. And if you go to our Facebook page now, you won't see it because she's still on a bit of a break. But so that really worked for us. So I highly recommend, at least based on my experience, at least maybe trying it out if you aren't like feeling like social media is your bailiwick. And the other thing she was really adamant about is that, and I don't know, I'd be interested to hear what others say, is that if you're spread too thin already, maybe you should just pick one platform and really do it well, as opposed to trying to be on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And for us, we felt like our community is involved in Facebook, and so that was where, more so than Instagram, so that was where we were going to put our effort. Although I've been reconsidering that a bit, because I've been hearing from some people that they're getting business through their Instagram more now, so we might shift it. But anyhow, that was just another piece of advice that we kind of were following for a bit.
Might not hurt to survey the members, and you could even frame it in terms of their, a benefit to them, to say, hey, we want to follow you on whatever platform you're on, and and give you some value, so what platforms are you on, and just get a sense of where are people active now amongst your existing membership. Could be kind of fun to just see where people are at.
Sorry, Tony, I have one more point I wanted to say. This is really quick. Yeah. The other interesting thing we found is that we've had, again, we don't have a ton of members. We only have 10 full-time members, but of the men who have joined, they have been more comfortable just like Googling co-working in my area, finding that we're a co-working space, and showing up. But the women who have all come in have some personal connection to somebody they found on Facebook. So I think it also, and I don't know, that's a very small subset, obviously, of the world, and maybe it's just unique to us. But we found that if we want women to come in, they seem to need more, which is consistent with my own personal experience, but they need some sort of like, I know somebody, or I feel comfortable because somebody I know has said this place is good. The men seem to just be like, I need co-working, I'll wander in and try it out.
That's been our example, or our experience as well. Facebook groups have been so enormously helpful for us. I'm very active on a lot of them here in the area. And just the referrals we get from those are terrific. But yeah, we get almost no women just like, oh yeah, I Googled you guys. Like they want to know. I mean, and it makes sense just given lots of things. But yeah, women are going to go off of a referral instead.
So,
which I think, I'm sorry, Tony, which I think is why I really like not only Facebook, but also Instagram, especially Instagram stories, because you can get more personal with people. And people have responded positively to some of our goofy behind the scenes things that we put on Insta story.
Yeah.
I have one thought that I just want to share with you guys. I might be hiring a social media content creator in the next few weeks, that I might be able to help you guys. But I think another issue is not even the content. You can have great content, you can have great graphics, but if you don't have engagement, it's not going to work for you, for anybody. I participate a lot in engagement groups, and that's something we can talk another day, but engagement is the key for Instagram, Facebook. And if you don't have engagement, your posts are all the way down there, nobody's going to see. Doesn't matter if they Google or not. So maybe we could create an engagement group ourselves for the co-working people, but engagement is key, and it's going to bring your posts all the way to the top, and then you're going to get people talking, commenting, and all those kind of stuff that we can talk about later another time.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really important point, Lucas. I feel like this kind of like undergirds to me Jen's relationship to social media and why it might be worth giving these other folks a try, because I feel like whoever's on social media for your brand should be excited to be on social media for the brand, right? Like they should be looking for those opportunities to engage the other members and just like wanting to have a fun time kind of being in that space. And I feel like the peace of mind value of you not having to think about it anymore, you know, to have that in someone else's hands. And we're talking about what, a couple $100 a month, right?
$450.
Okay. So like that amount of money, if it gets you a couple of members, right? Like it starts to pay for itself pretty quickly. And if it takes hours off of your plate, or even like not necessarily direct hours, but like energetic hours, you know, like if it's the embodied like factor that you free up to go focus on building a better business, you know, it could be worth it. Like even if it doesn't generate income for itself, just in the sense that it checks that box and it frees you up to go focus on other stuff. Because as the leader of your business and knowing you, Jen, and what you're trying to build compared to somebody who's building a smaller thing, right? Like some of the folks who are here are running kind of smaller groups. You know, you're trying to build something that wants to scale. So I'd rather you be spending more of your time, you know, cultivating relationships with prospective investors for the long run or something along those lines, right? Like, you know, meeting with local organizers around town that you could form partnerships with, like high level leadership CEO stuff, right? So if working with these guys gets this off of your plate, I feel like anything you can do to put yourself more and more in the mindset of I'm the CEO and, you know, I'll do the ground level stuff when I have to, but if I can get it off my plate, then I should try to.
No, you're totally right. Every now and then I say, would Amy Nelson be doing this right now?
There you go. That's the founder of the Riveter, right?
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, the Riveter is an amazing women-focused space, right? And they are absolutely killing it. I mean, they're going gangbusters right now, and they're not. I mean, they're not even the biggest compared to the Wing, but there are a lot of kind of like women-focused, women-oriented spaces that are growing, and we are all excited to see Jen join their ranks in short order. So yeah, that's a great question. Like, would she be like, what would she be doing right now if she were sitting here? She'd be like, screw that. She'd be like, I already hired somebody to do this while we were having this conversation.
Yeah.
And I moved on.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. That answers that. Okay, great. This is a good topic. I feel like we're having some fun with it. I'm curious to hear how it goes, Jen. And I'm curious about this for myself. Like I want to find the right sweet rhythm of finding the way to delegate social media help. And so I'd like to keep in the loop with you on how it goes as you go. So let us know how it goes, please.
Will do. Thank you, everyone.
All right. So we had a nice, good chunk of time talking about that. We can keep talking about something related to that. We can go a completely different direction. This is your call. You have the collective brain trust of some incredible people. And we're here to help you grow and make your businesses amazing. And we've got 2 brand new members here today with Lucas and Mike. So I am very curious how all this is landing for you. What's on your mind? What kinds of things you're trying to figure out that we might be able to help you with?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just actually started jumping into this. As I was working with one of my partners on a business plan that might help create a additional revenue stream, as well as helping and foster that community we keep talking about within our current business. And so really, I'm really in the discovery phase. You know, I'm very analytical, and I'm like to see the details. So I don't know what questions to quite ask yet because I'm just starting right now just to research it.
Sure.
I mean, I guess, you know, one of the biggest questions I have is, you know, you read about, you know, how profitable co-working space businesses are. However, we don't have the data yet to support it.
Yeah.
So, you know, just trying to understand really, is this a viable solution? Or, you know, is co-working space really profitable at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Are we constrained by small business mentality in the sense of the realities of constraint in time?
You know, I think it's obviously a really important question to ask if you're going to get into a business is, how does this work? Does this work? You know, we see a lot of people building co-working spaces, but that doesn't mean it's a proven model. A lot of times you'll see a lot of stuff come up in a given industry, and it turns out that, you know, there isn't, for the most part, a real sustainable model. But I think, so just to give you my compressed version, and I have like a longer talk on this that I'm working on sharing with you guys at some point. I see a number of different models for co-working that I found could be sustainable at different scales. And just to kind of give you, again, the compressed version of it, essentially it ranges from, on the small end, not even making it a business, but making it kind of a side project, something that you do for fun, something that you do, you know, like in cafes or in your friend's space, you know, as a club. Because if you're not worrying about paying for a lease, then everything becomes easier. But then in kind of the smaller range, there's this hybrid model, which is what Lucas is working on, which I think is an awesome model for a small co-working space, which is you have another business, which is an agency, a web development firm, a graphic design firm, something that's in kind of the creative services world, and also a co-working space, and the relationship is symbiotic. And so the co-working space brings you potential freelancers to hire and clients and things like that. And so they feed each other, and they end up supporting each other, and that ends up being a really nice way to do it. The other thing is kind of on the medium to larger scale is, again, having some kind of other financial supplement to the business, whether that be an educational program or event rental, you know, or a combination of the two, or some kind of an accelerator program or a nonprofit arm that is getting grants to do some social good in the area, but some other thing that's a sweetener, so that the co-working space onto itself becomes a platform that augments this other thing that has greater margins, frankly, because the co-working on its own isn't super duper profitable, but it is social capital profitable. And so if you're building co-working space and it makes some money, but then you've got this other thing that could, you know, make more money, and the co-working space can kind of boost that thing. Or you operate at a larger scale where you're just renting out a lot of offices and you've really got kind of a turnkey operation going there. And that's where, you know, some of the larger scale operations seem to be going for, is just building a really, really strong office rental machine. So those are my like 4 or 5 models that I tend towards. And there's a lot of like specificity in terms of like the hybrid and how that works in the middle. But, you know, you want to kind of trend towards one of those models, or you want to know that you're going towards a model that makes sense for some other reason. Is that making sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely. And that's kind of the mentality we've been wrestling with and trying to understand. And as we kind of go more towards this community, is we have a pretty high level of what that is, defined what that might be, but in reality of it, we just got to see what the opportunities or interests is and where that might be. So I look forward to talking to you more one-on-one. So
yeah, we'll get into it more one-on-one, because it really has to do more with your own individual priorities and where you go with it. You know, and everyone's got their own story. So like, you know, not to kind of overdo my own example, but I ran a space for whatever it was, 7 or 8 years, and it wasn't a sustainable model. And eventually we closed. We could have sold, or we could have tried to move it to somewhere else. But the point was that for what I needed it to be and for what the members needed it to be, it didn't have to last forever for it to achieve what it needed to achieve for everybody involved. And that got me to a place where then I could move on to something else that was more in alignment with what I wanted, which was working with folks like yourselves. And so there's even this notion of being able to say, well, you know what, I'm going to run the space for a few years, specifically with the idea in mind that I'm going to establish myself in a given community so that I can then move on and go do some other work. And that's really going to have to do with your own journey and what your personal passions and interests are. And then we can figure out how to make the co-working project serve your journey accordingly. That makes sense.
It does make sense. Thank you.
Cool. Kelly, I saw that you have a question about, while we're talking about business model, one of the other things we could talk about is just ways to augment the business model to make it more profitable, improve your margins. And one of those ways is through things like virtual office and mailbox rentals, which you asked about privately in the chat. Does anybody do that? Does anybody do mailbox rentals? I know we don't have too many people with open spaces on the call right now, but Jennifer? Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yes, but we haven't done a big push for it. We're actually looking into offering virtual mail, so we will be.
Got it. Okay.
So what is virtual mail where people don't have to come in and pick up their mail? You just scan it for them? Or do you mean virtual mail as in they're not actually coming in that often as a member, but they come and pick up physical mail?
From what I understand, there's a couple different options. You can either scan, there's certain things where you can scan it, or it's really more like mailbox services.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you that it's something that I've seen people do successfully, and that I've seen a few people absolutely swear by it, where they say, oh, it's pure profit. You can scale it up as much as you want because it doesn't take up any space, and it's easy money. I think that to some degree it's a little hit or miss as far as you have to know how to sell it, and it may depend a lot on your market, that there has to be demand for it. So if you've got a Broadway location in Manhattan, then people really want to be able to have that be their business address, right? So I think it depends a lot on your market, but I do think that if you have an inclination towards exploring it, it's not the worst thing to do, because it's just the work that you put into figuring it out. It may not be it may not bear fruit, but it's not like you're building out a whole new wing of your building to make it happen.
Yeah, I think a couple of the things we were struggling with is we're only open Monday through Friday, and our street is not a place that packages or anything could be left. And so we're trying to figure out what to do about anything that might appear on a Saturday, and what kind of liability we have if somebody's mail gets lost. And then we did talk to a UPS store who we were thinking of just partnering with and having them be the address, but us kind of encouraging people to use them and maybe do some cross promotion or something. But one of the things they mentioned is that once you're the address for companies, then you often end up getting bombarded with catalogs and all that type of junk mail. Yeah. That they're having to deal with all the time. And I mean, obviously they do it on a much larger scale, but she's like, sometimes we get boxes and boxes of just catalogs and crap. So that was the thing. We were like, our space is so small, we really didn't. So I was just kind of curious if members found it. I mean, we've had a couple of requests for it, which is why we were thinking about it. But I didn't know and hadn't talked to anybody who had experienced it or used that or had that as a part of their program.
I will say, given what I know, Kelly, about your situation, I feel like I didn't do this. I didn't do the virtual mail or any of that, in part because it was so labor intensive to manage all the mail and clutter the space. And I don't know how the bigger spaces don't go crazy dealing with it. But the other problem we'd have is that we would have members who would join, make it a business address, and leave after a few months, but never change their info. And somehow that would be the company where they'd end up on all the mailing lists, and we'd get all kinds of the crap. And we would get we'd get bills, we'd get checks, we'd get IRS notices, we'd get scary things that are from members who left months or years ago. And then now I'm stuck with this document. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. and you try to return to sender as much as you can. But I didn't want to deal with it from just a work standpoint. And I feel like for you, Kelly, specifically in your situation, especially given what we talked about last week, I'm far more excited about the idea of you creating the ultimate, going for the ultimate like minimum labor setup for your co-working space. Because I feel like if you optimize for minimum work and you create a space where maybe there isn't even anybody at the front desk, that I think could lead to you having a much more sustainable situation vis-a-vis the stuff we talked about last week.
Yeah, and I was reluctant to do the mail thing sort of for all the reasons you just entailed, but some of my other partners were really intrigued. So it's just helpful to say, hey, I brought it up at this. And some other people have my concerns too. So
yeah.
But I agree. I mean, I don't think we're in a position to take it on right now, given that we're kind of in a little bit of flux, and I would hate for people to change their address to us, and I don't know. We haven't figured out where we're going with the business yet.
It's not going to save you. Like it's not going to save you. Like what's going to work is thanks, Jen. Bye. It like something like this is when we're saying, okay, we want to increase our profits, right? Like things are going well, but we're not as profitable as we'd like to be. So, but we're feeling resourced. So how do we like throw something in there to improve our profitability? Then great, go for it. But if you're saying like, man, we're just trying to keep our head above water and we're a little burnt out, then this isn't the answer, right? Like the answer now is like, how do we create the most positive impact of getting more members in the space and getting it to run as smoothly as possible with the least amount of work, right? So that if you're doing that, then that's going to buy you the ability to stay in business longer and start tackling some of those bigger picture conversations.
Yes.
Neato. All right, we're at the end of the hour. Anybody got any last minute things? Anything they want to share? Any wins? Any successes? Any little things that they would like to share with the group that has happened in their life that is a yay? I'm trying to think if I have any good ones. I definitely have good ones. What the hell happened in my life? I started working with oil paints, y'all. I was intimidated with that by them for so long, and then I finally broke them out and just started working with color, and then and now I love it. So I needed to get some more color behind me, so I started doing that, and I feel really good about it. So that's my win for the week.
That's great.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? Any other last words? All right. Thanks, Jennifer. Thank you, Lucas and Mike and Agostina and Kelly. Everybody, keep doing the great work you're doing. Keep being awesome, and I'll see you in a week.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. See you guys.
Bye.
Take care.